Welcome back to our Tune In Traders Nation. It's my pleasure to have with us today Jeffrey Zaslow. He authored with Randy Pausch the last lecture. Jeff, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
Hey, Kurt. How are you?
Good, good. Hey, listen, you know, I've been following Randy and that whole story for quite some time. It's my extreme pleasure to have you on today.
Well, thanks.
And to talk about this and give us some background on Randy. If somebody out there, rare case, somebody may not have heard. Give us a brief background.
Sure. Well, Randy's a computer science professor at Carnegie Mellon, and he there's a lot of campuses have last lectures where hypothetically professors try to think what would they say if it was our last chance. But in Randy's case, he just learned he had pancreatic cancer and had about 2 to 6 months to live, and so he decided to give this last lecture to his students and colleagues. I went there to cover it for the Wall Street Journal, and it was just a remarkable afternoon. It got loose on the internet and just started spreading around the world. And Randy died July 25th, which is tough for those of us who knew him, but he was quite a special guy.
Right, and you're absolutely right. In fact, it was at Carnegie Mellon where Randy had given his last lecture, and because of the internet, it went viral. I mean, it literally reached millions of people. And it was at a time of his life, too, where time was short, and he wanted to write a book, and you guys got together. And so what happened here?
Well, he wasn't sure he even wanted to write a book. I mean, there was a lot of interest right from within the days after the talk.
Yeah.
But he said, I might die in 2 months, I might die in 5 months. Do I want to take this time away from my kids? So Randy's a time management freak, and he said, this is what we'll do. I'll ride my bike every day for an hour for exercise. My doctors say I have to do that.
Right.
I'll wear a cell phone headset, and we'll talk. And so I was at my computer in Detroit, and he was in Virginia where he lives, and 53 days, an hour a day. Mm-hmm. He rode his bike. It was windy a lot of those days.
Right.
But it was like getting 53 extra lectures. It was the most amazing 53 days of my life listening to Randy. It was a gift, really.
Right. I bet you couldn't. I couldn't imagine you were sitting there listening to Randy talking and wondering to yourself, it's how unfortunate is it that Randy doesn't have that much time left. He knows it. I know it. And here you are listening to his aspirations, his dreams. And how did you feel about that?
He was so upbeat. Truthfully, there was only one time when he got teary on the phone with me, and
yeah.
I did too, which was when we were discussing the last chapter of the book, which takes place in the last moments on stage the day he gave the lecture. And he said It was because it was the end of his life, the end of the lecture, the end of the book. I mean, it was overwhelming for both of us. But mostly, Randy was so upbeat and funny. It was just really great. And even after the book was finished, I mean, I've sent him many hundreds of emails from people all over the world, thousands, and so many links. And he emailed me about a month and a half ago, and he said, "Will you stop Googling my name and go hug your kids?" So he was giving me advice even after the fact.
Well, I mean, he really had this way of inspiring people, didn't he? And is that what got you through?
Yeah, he had a way. I mean, I think one of his greatest gifts, besides being such a showman, was that he could take a moment in his own life and tell a simple story about his life, and it would resonate with the rest of us. When people read the book, it's really about him, but yet we're all thinking about ourselves.
Right.
And so, I was overwhelmed by a lot of what he said, and he was a riot. He's a funny guy, Randy, and I miss him. I got to tell you, in the 10 days since he died, it's been hard.
Right. He was a showman. I mean, the guy could do push-ups too, and he says, "You know what? Don't pity me."
No, and also, I think why people started showing that video, sending it to their friends, was because we think of a dying person in their deathbed with the covers pulled up.
Right.
And here he was doing push-ups and telling jokes and smiling and handsome and telling you, I'm going to live every day and have fun because that's the only way to do it. And we're all dying.
Right.
And I think that's what really made him connect to the rest of us.
What did he say? Is there anything in the book that he wanted to say that he wasn't able to in his last lecture?
Oh, a lot. The book is filled. The last lecture he didn't want to. It wasn't to his wife and kids because he said he thought he would tear up if he talked about them on stage. So he really didn't.
Right.
But in the book, he was able to do it. So the book is pretty personal about his feelings for his kids and his, personal things from his own life. So I mean, when the book was finished, we finished it in late January. I spent another month just typing up things for his kids that they will. That when they're teenagers, they're young now. They're 6, 3, and 2, but he hopes that when they're teens, they'll go through the big box I sent of all his stuff and read up on how much he loved them and what he wanted to say to them.
Right. Now he also talked about the importance and if not anything, the possibility of following your childhood dreams and keeping that child sense of wonder going. In the end, was he successful in doing that?
I mean, he wasn't Superman. I'm reading on the internet, people just are so in love with him, they think he had these qualities that the rest of us don't necessarily have, and in a way he did, but he was also human, and he got depressed at the end, and it wasn't always easy, and he said, he cried at night with his wife sometimes. At 4 in the morning they cried, they fell asleep, they woke up at 5, they cried some more.
Yeah.
But his attitude was, someone's got to get up and give the kids breakfast, and tomorrow's going to be the best day we can make it, and so let's go.
Right. So every day he tried to make it the best day that he possibly could, even though in the back of his mind he knew that he was dying.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was. I didn't know him when he wasn't dying, to tell you the truth. Yeah. So I don't know what he was like then, but he sure was impressive in the final 10 months that I knew him.
Right? Isn't that the way to go? I mean, if you ask me, you've got honor, integrity. You keep your chin up, keep your family together. I mean, he did it right all the way, didn't he?
He did, but God, it's young. 47 is young to go, and he would trade it all in, all the worldwide fame and the books in 30 languages, and he would trade it in to have another, couple of years with his kids. I'll tell you that. And he tried his hardest, which is the other message he wants his kids to know: is he took every pill and did every surgery and did everything he could.
Yeah, because in the end, it's family is everything. If you don't have family, you don't have nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
And family was very important to him. All right, so how important is it for us to keep childlike sense of wonder going? I mean, we really need that in our lives, don't we?
Yeah, his lecture was really about how he achieved his childhood dreams and then how he helped others achieve theirs. And, I've gotten so many emails from people who say, God, I haven't thought about my childhood dreams in a long time. What did I want to do with my life? What did I aspire to? And, Randy's a geek. He was a computer geek. So he wanted to be Captain Kirk. He wanted to float in zero gravity, things that he did. He wanted to, some things he got to do after the fact that after he became famous, they put him in the new Star Trek movie, so he's got a one-line role in the Star Trek movie coming out next spring. But when you think about what his dreams were, it makes us think about our own dreams.
Right. Very important. Now, I did see the last lecture, along with millions of other people, and one thing that struck me was that how many other people really talked about Randy. I mean, he had this way of bringing people together, didn't he?
He did, yes, he did. He also, he could be, as he said, he was arrogant at times, and he was a guy who knew he was smart, and couldn't help but tell you that.
Right.
And that rubbed people the wrong way. He called himself a recovering jerk. So he would say to me, 95% of his evaluations from students were one of the best professors I've ever had, and 5% were, this guy got him away from students. So Randy had a good sense of himself, especially in his later years, in his 30s and 40s. He knew who he was, and that's important too, to be able to judge yourself and your flaws.
Sure. All right. If there's one thing in the last lecture that people really need to know about, what is it?
Oh, just to wake up and say, what can I do today to make it better? And he said, look, there were times in his life things weren't going well, and rather than wallow in self-pity, he said, okay, there's things I can do. What can I do to improve it? And he would do that. So, he had a way of looking at life that can't help but resonate with the rest of us positively.
All right, now, Jeff, where can we find the book at? Obviously, everywhere.
Yeah, it is everywhere. But when the first Diane Sawyer special came out in April, it was sold out the next morning. They sold about 400,000 copies within days, and so it wasn't in stores for about 3 weeks. But now they've got books in stores.
Ample supply, right?
Yeah, you hope. But people are taken by them. It's really great.
Yeah. All right. Now, where can we find you at, Jeff?
Where can you find me?
Sure.
Well, I'm in the Wall Street Journal. I'm a columnist of the Journal, and I'm actually on book leave, but I'll be back. And anyway, right now we're all thinking about Randy, and I'm happy to talk to you about him. Obviously,
you're more than welcome. Listen, Randy, fantastic guy, and I think anybody that doesn't know the story, they need to go find the story and get a copy of the book too. Absolutely fantastic.
You just Google Randy's name, Randy Pausch, for the last lecture, and you'll get all sorts of links to some great stuff.
That's right, and Pausch is spelled, by the way, P-A-U-S-C-H. Jeff, thanks for being on True.
Hey, Kurt, thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Appreciate it. All right, Jeffrey Zaslow, folks, co-author with Randy Pausch of the last lecture. Get a copy today. Absolutely fantastic. I just want you guys to know, too, I get books sent to us all the time from all the major book houses everywhere. Everywhere. Books out the kazoo. I have more books I could start a financial library. Okay? This one I bought. Very important. And I don't buy books, I can tell you that right now. I bought this one because it's worth it. Get a copy today. Great, great story.